Well, Jonathan's got powers now. I'm sure he's gonna rub it in Jordan's face because he feels like Jordan's been rubbing it. Oh, no, he wants Jordan to work with him and train with him. Well, I'm sure now Jordan's gonna get all jealous and stuff because Jonathan's a better hero than he. Oh no, he's actually giving Jonathan his suit and kind of passing the torch to him. Well, Lois said she wanted to save Jonathan over Jordan, so I'm sure Jordan's gonna get all upset. Oh, he's upset, but it's because he feels like a failure, not because he's jealous of Jonathan. I'm sorry. I'm so used to the Arrowverse. What is this maturity? What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Superman and Lois Season 4, Episode 3, Always My Hero. So I do have a couple of gripes with this episode. It was good overall. The final scene with Sam talking to Lois as the hologram definitely did feel that, and the acting was brilliant in that scene. But I do have a couple of questions. First of all, we'll talk about the heart situation, because apparently we're going with Sam injects himself with Bruno Mannheim's serum because he got shot, and that apparently is enough to turn his heart possibly into being compatible with the Kryptonian body. It seems weird. It seems like an odd choice, especially considering I thought the answer was right in front of us. You wouldn't be able to crush a Kryptonian heart. Their hearts should be just as indestructible as the rest of their body. How could a regular human just step on it and crush it? That's not possible. So I assumed that was going to be the answer. They're going to find out later. Jordan was going to realize at some point, or maybe Lois would. Maybe they go talk to the hologram of Cal's mother, and she's like, you shouldn't be able to just crush a heart. I really thought that's where this was going. So the fact that it's just, no, we're going to have Sam inject himself with a serum, and that's somehow going to turn his heart into being compatible, it feels like you're jumping through a lot of hoops, and you're really stretching the logic to make this make sense when the logic was already there to solve this problem. I was kind of looking at it the same way that I look at how a lot of schools are teaching kids to do math here in America now, where they're adding like all these extra steps that are unnecessary to get to the same solution, when solving the problem is a lot easier than they try to make it out to be. I feel like I'm not really happy with how they've solved this problem personally. But add on top of that, for Luthor, I don't know if this makes sense, having Doomsday show up and just kill Sam. It made sense that he managed to get into the DOD and convince one of the people there to turn on Sam and try to get the information about what happened with his daughter. And sure, he may look at it and go, well, Sam's just not going to talk, so if he's not going to, I'll just kill him. But really think about it. Wouldn't it make more sense if he threatened people close to Sam to try to get that information instead of just killing him so he definitely won't get the information about his daughter? Because I know he's not going to kill Lois because he wants to ruin her life in front of her to make her pay for everything he lost. But he could have Doomsday go after the grandkids, which would also hurt Lois in the process. Or since he got this one DOD guy to flip on Sam, he could find out that Natalie is very close with him. He could threaten Natalie's life. It just feels weird that it goes from, all right, well, you're not going to tell me, I guess I'll just kill you then, way too quickly for somebody like Lex Luthor, who has been shown to be very intelligent and thinking 5 steps ahead. This seems like a very silly move that doesn't really make sense. But that's about it for the bad stuff in this episode. Everything else was good. The flashbacks I thought were very appropriately setting up for what I probably should have seen coming, which is Sam's death, because getting to see how he reacted at first when he finds out Clark is Superman, then finding out Clark wants to marry Lois, trying to convince him and her to not go through with the wedding. It does show how far he's come from where he was essentially trying to break up this wedding because he was worried about Lois, to now he's willing to put his own life aside to make sure Lois stays safe and also get Clark back in the process. It's a very nice turnaround for him, and I think it's a good send-off for his character. And then there's the stuff with the boys. I'm not really sure how I feel about it yet. I'm waiting to see what they're going to do with it. Jonathan getting his powers now does feel very coincidental. It does feel a little rushed as well, to be perfectly honest. But we are seeing where Lex is trying to use that rift. And it is almost ironic how Jonathan gets his powers shortly after Lois made that choice between Jordan and Jonathan. And so it does lend itself to what Lex is trying to accomplish here, which is pushing them apart, making Jordan mistrust Lois. And I do kind of hope that Jordan isn't just going to fall for this, because he's already shown a lot of naivete and a lot of ignorance as well. Since the choices he made before got his father killed, I'd like to see him really use his brain and go, all right, well, Lex is trying to use me, trying to turn me against my mom. I'm not going to let that happen. And maybe even try to turn it around on Lex, where he pretends to give in just to get close enough to Lex to essentially thwart his plans. But I'm sure we will have probably a bit of bickering between Jordan and Jonathan as far as now that Jonathan has his powers, he's using them a lot better. Like, this has already been a huge talking point for this first few seasons where Jordan was acting like he was better than Jonathan because he had the powers. And now that the shoe's on the other foot and Jonathan is using them better in a shorter amount of time, I'm sure there's going to be more resentment there. Jonathan's going to feel a lot more capable, and especially since Lois was fully ready to just put Jonathan into training, whereas with Jordan it was a lot more hesitancy. I can definitely see what they're building up here. I just hope it doesn't spend too much time on that this season, because when they're bickering, that is probably my least favorite scenes with them, even if they are realistic. I'm just not a big fan of all the bickering. It does feel like it goes on a little too long at times. But I think that's about it for this episode, so with that, we'll move on to the next one. I'll see you there. Now, episode 4, A Perfectly Good Wedding. Ah, what a perfectly good wedding, said Superman to Lois. Yes, but what a shame. What a shame that Lex Luthor is a horrible person. So this one was fine. I mean, Kyle and Chrissy, I'm still just kind of meh about. And we don't even see Lana in this one at all. So it feels weird, to be perfectly honest. Chrissy's mom coming in, she doesn't really approve of all of this, but then they don't get married anyway. So why does any of this matter, really? Like, I know it's the final season, so you're going to be trying to come to a conclusion for a lot of these characters. But I've never really understood why Kyle and Chrissy got together in the first place. It just felt like a random hookup, and now they're having a kid together, and now they're in love, and I don't know. It feels kind of odd to me. I will say by the end of it, I mean, I'm glad they decided not to get married, because it is very quick for them. I know not everybody thinks like I do, but personally for me, I think 1 year into a relationship is way too early to be getting married. You don't really know the person yet. Even if you have lived together for that whole year, there's still some stuff that could come out later. So it did feel very sudden for all of this to be happening. So I'm glad they came to that conclusion. But looking at everything else on the outside, I'm kind of glad we're not seeing Jordan get all jealous about the fact that Jonathan's going out there and being a superhero now. In fact, he's kind of encouraging it because he realizes maybe it's not for him and Jonathan is more suited to go do it. And so it's more of a passing of the torch and him realizing that he's not really helped a lot of situations. In most cases, he's made it worse. And I kind of like that for Jordan. You know, he may get back out there again in the future, but for now, with his dad not at full strength, it does make more sense for Jonathan, who, while he's not been doing this long, he is more equipped than Jordan to go out there and possibly save some people. It is a good choice for his character, and I'm glad Sarah talks some sense into him. But I will also say the one scene with Jordan that absolutely hit me hard was the scene where he's talking to Lois, because she finally brings up the phone call again, the fact that she chose Jonathan. And this is really where the writing and the acting in this show is so damn good, because he finally admits he's not mad at her because she chose Jonathan. He's mad because she was correct in choosing him, because he feels like he's a screw up. And that just hits so much harder. And as soon as he said that, it broke me, because I've been there before. I felt like a total screw up. I felt like I couldn't do anything right, whether it's my parents, whether it's, you know, somebody significant in my life. Just that feeling of they don't need me. They've got something else better. It's a feeling that me personally, I can relate to feeling in the past. And it's such a well done scene because of it. His reaction, Lois's reaction to it. It's still, just thinking about it, it's still kind of getting to me a little bit. And then followed up by a pretty hilarious scene with Coach Gaines talking about the music that he has and Kyle questioning his music choice. I think the joke is because he chose older music, and Kyle, of course, just got roasted about the fact that Chrissy is younger than him. A lot younger. So I think he was feeling a little self-conscious, like, why are you choosing these oldies? Can't we get some like Blink 182? And don't get me wrong, I like Blink 182, but if Chrissy can't appreciate the classics, maybe you shouldn't be with her, Kyle. But we don't really see much of Lex in this episode. He does have the one guy trying to go kill Gretchen. She gets away, but thankfully Superman does come in and stop the bad guy, and they keep him arrested. So possibly a chance to maybe flip him on Lex. I don't think it's going to happen, but we do also see that Clark is dealing with the fact that Sam's heart isn't fully stabilizing in his body. It does make me wonder if my theory then might end up being true later, where they realize that heart is not enough to keep him alive. And so they do find out that his heart is still out there, because again, it doesn't make sense to me that Lex can just smash his heart with his foot. The other thing about it too, because this popped into my head while I was watching this episode, he had that little box made that he put Superman's heart in. So I would assume that that box was a lot more meaningful. Like, he had somebody specifically make it for a reason. So why would he have it made just to take the heart out and smash it in the next episode? You know, I feel like there's something else going on there, but I do feel like Jordan probably would have told Clark about what happened, and if he didn't see any problem with Lex being able to step on his heart, then maybe we're just supposed to shrug and say, yeah, he could totally do that. But if that is the case, I mean, it is a pretty big oversight by the writers. I don't understand why you wouldn't have Lex smash it with like a kryptonite hammer or something like that. Just anything to make it make sense. Because I think everybody in the world watching this that knows Superman is probably assuming that his heart cannot just be stepped on and smushed. But I think that about does it for this episode. Like I said, it's pretty straightforward, not the most interesting, but not terrible. Especially when I compare it to other episodes that are mainly focused on side characters from other CW DC shows. It could be much, much worse than this. At the very least, Kyle and Chrissy are likable people. It's not always the case in these shows, so I'll give it that. But that'll do it for these 2 episodes. So with all that being said, cue the outro. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that review. I hope you enjoyed it. First and foremost, please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I love having discussions with people, so whatever your thoughts were, whether you agree or disagree with me, please leave them down below. Obviously, no spoilers. Also, if you did find yourself enjoying this review and you want to see more, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. I also have a gaming channel as well as a channel where I talk about soccer, so if you want to give those a follow as well, that would be much appreciated. And lastly, if you want to help me improve upon the quality of these channels, I do have a Patreon. All of this is in the description below. With all that being said, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace out.